It's hard to be patient sometimes when you realize the work that needs to be done. I've been asked, how did you find your purpose? My purpose found me. I was 33-year-old, living a great life, and whack, I found a lump. I kind of knew then that I wanted to reach other women.
Think about your diagnosis decades ago, and women are still in crisis even now.
And still being told you're too young, you don't have a family history. They're being dismissed and misled, and we have to fix that.
You have 5 pillars.
We do.
Which one do you think is most important of the 5?
I think human connection. People need people.
To a woman still putting herself on the back burner, give her one action item.
One thing she needs to do for herself is
she raised $20 million to fight breast cancer. Then breast cancer came for her a second time. She called it WTF, breast cancer number 2. Got off the sofa and built a stage for 1,000 women. A founder who refuses to let her diagnosis be the headline. Deb Belfatto, founder of Let's Talk Women's Health and Wellness, the New Jersey symposium that now draws over 1,000 women to NJPAC every spring. Before Let's Talk, raising more than $20 million for breast cancer research and community grants. Deb was first diagnosed with breast cancer at 33 in 1988. Her 2021 diagnosis, which she calls WTF breast cancer number 2, wasn't a recurrence, but a brand new primary. I followed her work for years. We finally connected, and I knew immediately I wanted her on this mic. Thank you so much, sincerely, for being here with me today. I'm so excited to have this combo.
Oh, me? I'm like overjoyed, honestly. It's really an honor and a privilege to be sitting here with you.
Oh, I feel the same way.
You know.
You walk into a room and it's like, you bring this energy and this light and this love. You're like a warm hug incarnate. Like that's how I feel about you.
Thank you. So now the tears will start to swell because I just am doing what I think I was born to do.
Isn't that amazing how that happens in life?
Yeah, it does. And it can, but you got to trust it. You got to trust the process.
You do have to trust the process. And along the journey, I've had those moments too. I'm like, am I on the right path? Am I really doing what I should be doing to help people? Am I utilizing my gifts to the best of my ability? You know, because it's one thing to have the events and to do the stuff, but then there's that internal voice, right? That talks to you and says, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing?
Can I affirm that for you? You are doing what you are supposed to be doing. And then some. Okay?
Coming from you, friend, I will take that. So you have been advocating for women's health for more than 30 years now?
Yeah. How about that?
Did it go by pretty quickly?
Oof. You know, it honestly has been like faster than the speed of light. Like, how could it be that I'm turning 73 next month and I still keep doing what I do best?
You have the energy of like a 25-year-old.
You know, thank you. And I am grateful. I am so grateful for that, because isn't life about living as best you can do when you are lucky enough to get out of bed every day?
I think I heard someone say, you know, you're doing the right thing when you are excited about your feet touching the floor in the morning and you're getting up and you're going to do something that you love.
I have often said I literally have bounced out of bed just about all of my life. And the best part about that is I have a partner and a husband that does the same thing, bounces out of bed and can't wait to take on another day.
Oh, so that partnership.
Yeah.
People ask me sometimes, what was your biggest flex in life? Honestly, and I think doesn't Warren Buffett, one of the big great billionaires, said that it's it's your partner. It's who you choose in life to stand alongside you and support you through that journey.
Yep.
So what did you know at 33 that you couldn't have known now at 65 and vice versa? So what does 33-year-old Deb say to 65-year-old and 65-year-old say to 33-year-old?
Whoa. So 33-year-old was just living a great life. I mean, I have a great husband. I had a 3-year-old, Lindsay, my one and only love of my life. I had kids stores because my previous professional life had been in fashion. Oh. And not wanting to go back to work in the city after she was born, I'm like, I know, I'm going to open kids stores. And I did, because I have been that person that tries her good, better, best. When you say it, you do it. And I'm like, yeah, kids stores. That sounds like a lot more fun than women's fashion, because everybody walks in happy, joyful.
Yes.
So that's what I was doing. And our life was lovely. My parents were alive, great friends. You know, it was lovely. And whack, I found a lump. And this won't surprise you, I was dismissed by my doctor.
Oh, gosh.
I was dismissed. And
did they tell you were too young to have cancer?
Of course he did, in the most cavalier way. And I'm like, that just doesn't feel right to me. I'm good with my gut. I'm really good with my gut. And I'm like, nah, not having it, not hearing it.
I want women to hear that, because I always teach them that no one knows your body better than you do. Mm-hmm. Even with the doctor's knowledge of anatomy and physiology, you know when something is wrong. So I want women to listen to that feeling that you had. So what did you do then after you got dismissed in a cavalier fashion? Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm like, so what do you suggest? He said, maybe you want to see a surgeon. I'm like, okay, let me just take my show on the road here. The last conversation I had with him. And I did say, anyone you suggest? And he suggested someone that remarkably his wife was a customer at my kids' store. And I'm like, oh, I kind of know him. Sure. Reached out to this surgeon who was a general surgeon, because there weren't a lot of breast specialists in the late 80s. It was coming of age, but the shift was just beginning to happen. And then women were like, we are going to take over this space. And that's what happened. But I had the biopsy. He, right then and there, I knew where this was going. My instincts, my gut told me that something was wrong. I had had a premonition. So yeah, it was malignant. And I'm like, okay, now what? I'm going to die. I have a 3-year-old. I have a really lovely life. Oh my God. I mean, your life flashes in front of you. And
were you offered any at that time emotional support or any services, or did they just go through the data, the studies, the treatment options?
Come on.
But think about all that you were managing at that point. And so none of that was offered.
Not so much. My husband was on Wall Street, and Wall Street is that place where it's like, I know this one. I got a connection to that one. And I'm like, what is happening to me? Like, it was just whirling and twirling. But we did have a family friend, and I did have 2 consults before I eventually, and my mom said to me, enough is enough. we're going down to University of Pennsylvania. The minute I walked into that institution, I knew that I was in the right place at the right time, and there was a good shot at them saving my life. I just knew it. And the treatment team, they had a treatment team. They had a multidisciplinary, that was kind of a new buzzword.
Yeah.
And that was the team. And I looked at that team and they looked at me, and the radiologist, Dr. Falbo, said to me, I don't like the way this report reads. We're going to start all over again. You good with that? And I'm like, just sign me up. I know I belong here. And that saved my life. And then, so now my life is saved. I had a lumpectomy, which people were like, what? Whispering. What do you mean? They're not taking your breast off. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm trusting this team. I'm going with what they're recommending. And, chemotherapy was kind of gray then. Was I a candidate? And I'm like, give me whatever you got. All I want to do is live, raise my daughter. And I kind of knew then that I wanted to reach other women. I kind of knew then. And I didn't know a lot, but I wanted to know more.
So you're managing your daughter, your marriage, your businesses, and your own cancer diagnosis. And a lot of people say once they hear the C word, life stops. And in that moment, your constitution is still built to think of others.
You know what? When you I have a lot of blessings in my life, so you don't just count your blessings, you share your blessings. That's, I don't know, that's a mantra for me.
So at 33, you knew that?
I pretty much did. My mother had drilled it into my brain, as did my dad. But my mom was unique in the 50s and 60s as a mother. She was pretty much a powerhouse. She was in her own way a badass. She really was.
I love that.
And, she always encouraged me to just take the leap.
All right. So let's talk about your 4 Ps.
Oh, yeah.
Passion, persistence, patience, perseverance. Which one's been the hardest for you to hold this year?
Whoa. So I wear them every day. I wear my message. Clearly, I wear my messages.
Yes.
This year, it's hard to be patient sometimes when you realize the work that needs to be done and the people that you need to reach, and that the world is wonky right now.
Oh, that's one way to kindly put it.
That's a kind description, right? So it's like the race is on. Let's gather the best of the best. Let's join together. Let's collaborate, because, as I say to my almost 6-year-old grandson, teamwork. It's all about the teamwork, and let's work together. And we can't be patient. We can't be patient. We just have to, we've got to power through.
I think I agree with you on that, because the patience is really hard when you have so much passion. When you're so passionate about it, you want everything done yesterday, especially when you're trying to help people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, wait, what? It's going to take 3 times as long and cost 5 times as much as what I thought it was going to be. So you brought this up. You're wearing your messaging. And now I know where some of it has come from the experience in obviously being in fashion. Mm-hmm. But I want to know 2 things. I want to know what people get wrong about you when they meet you in one of those signature headbands that I adore. The last time you had this fabulous bejeweled one. But what do you think people get wrong about you when they see your signature headbands?
Sometimes the misperception is, oh, look at her. She's dripping in fashion. And she must be one of those ladies that just sees a Broadway show every other week and is lunching at the country club.
Thank you for saying that. I was like, yes, ladies who lunch, they get a bad rap. Yes.
They do. But, those lunches lead to amazing
community, connection.
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we're not talking about the small stuff. We're talking about the big stuff. And yeah, I do. I get to do that too, but I get to do so much more than that.
So you're more than the headband.
Yeah,
a lot more.
But you can find me in a room easily.
Oh, exactly. When I was trying to find you in that room of 1,000 women, I was like, there she is. Yep. So along with the headband is a sweater, right, that you unveil every year. And the sweaters have messaging on them, correct?
Every year. That's correct.
So what's let's hear the story.
So I love fashion brands. I mean, it's just in my veins. So I channel it. And so I love this brand, Lingua Franca. And talk about powerful messaging. And year one, I wore Let's Talk. And I did the signature boobs on the sweater because people are realizing more and more and noticing more and more our signature boobs.
And that'll get people talking.
Won't it though? Yes, right? Won't it though? Right.
Mission accomplished. Check.
Check. And, I love good swag because it sends great messages.
Yes.
So the first year was, that was first year. Second year was Path to Purpose. And I've been thinking of how much this channels me, directs me, helps me with my roadmap. And I've been asked, well, how did you find your purpose? And it's like, kind of my purpose found me in so many ways. I was on a panel, Permission to Pivot. And they were like, well, so, what about your pivot? And I'm like, my pivot found me. My diagnosis found me, which then led me to my path to purpose. Maybe a book someday. I don't know. I'll talk to you about that.
Do it. So now you've built 2 organizations across 2 diagnoses. What did it teach you about women, money, and what it takes to actually move that needle?
Well, women and money. What lives in my head every day is, why is it that not every woman has the access to quality health care that I did and I do every single day? It really just makes me cuckoo.
And you say that, and as a doctor who's been in the exam rooms and operating rooms and fighting with insurance companies, I look at you and I'm like, why are there not more Debs around? Because you're a gem. Because I don't think people can realize what the power of community and education and the power of a check, even if you don't have time, but you're lucky enough, write a check and help another woman get access to care.
Yep. And I think my message this year on this year's sweater, be the ripple. You can be the ripple.
Oh, absolutely.
You can write that check. You can show up. You can come and stuff the swag bags, whatever it might be. A doctor like you can show up because the way that room looks at Let's Talk really speaks to you. And when you said that to me, like, that's one of the things I'm proudest of, is the composition of the room at Let's Talk.
I love the room. Now you've given me goosebumps, and both of us are going to have to save the tears for the end. But okay. Why I told you last year I spoke at, 60 some events, but the reason your community speaks to me, and I love being in that room, it's women of every walk of life. And I know a lot of these individuals don't have access to this education, this information, and you have given that to them with who you're putting in the stages and who you're putting in that room. And you can feel you walk in and it feels like you. It feels like a warm hug. It's comfortable and it's not stuffy. And women aren't afraid to ask questions. It is unbelievable what you've built. And what did you have this year? Over 1,000?
Almost. Just like the registrations were at 968 or something, but then people show up. So yeah, okay, we had over 1,000. Yep, yes. We did.
It was amazing.
Crazy, right?
It speaks to the need of how the community you have built, number one, how comfortable and accessible you've made this, but also it speaks to the need. Think about your diagnosis how many decades ago, and women are still in crisis, needing this information, access to care, data, all of it, even now.
Sure are. And they're still being told that you're too young, that, you don't have a family history.
Oh, yeah.
They're being dismissed and misled. And we have to fix that. We have to fix that.
Less than 5% of OBGYNs are doing adequate screening for breast cancer as far as offering, women thyrocusic testing, the MyRisk genetic testing, less than 5%. And most doctors I know, most healthcare professionals, they go in, wanting to do really, really good things and to take care of their patients. But when you have a 5 to 7 minute appointment, how are you going to adequately counsel, get the information, and do it? There should be a separate appointment where you can talk about all of your cancer risk and all of the femtech now that is available and testing that is covered by insurance. It's a quick questionnaire that women can fill out, and it gives you 2 pieces of information. What is my lifetime risk of developing breast cancer? And am I a candidate for additional screening, whether it is a screening MRI, a diagnostic MRI? Like my thyrocusic, for example, doesn't meet the criteria for insurance of 20% to get an MRI covered. I'm at 16 or 17%. So above the average, 11, 12% of women. So I get a screening MRI every year, which is about $350 out of pocket, but FSA covers it. So, but doctors aren't having these conversations.
Women don't know that.
And so, less than 5% of doctors are sharing this. And so that's why our conversations that we're having at these events arm women with this information. They're like, oh, wait. I need to find out what my thyrocusic score is. Mm-hmm. I need to ask my doctor about a screening MRI. I need to ask them about other imaging options. But one of my saddest stories that I had was a young woman who came to me, very strong family history of breast cancers, asked her OBGYN for genetic testing, or at least the screener to see, is my insurance going to cover it? He was like, do you have a lump? Do you have symptoms? She was like, no, but I would like to know before I get the cancer. And he's like, sorry, there's nothing I can offer you.
And she was being proactive.
She was being proactive.
And she was trying to get ahead of it before it was going to get ahead of her.
Right. So we gave her the MyRisk screener, which she took in a few minutes, told her she was a candidate, insurance covered genetic testing. Lo and behold, she had a mutation that was going to increase her lifetime risk, not only of breast cancer, but also of ovarian. And then she was crying. And I thought she was crying because she was sad about the fact that she had an increased risk. Mm. And she's like, no, you listened to me And now I can do something about it. I can make my family planning around this. I can make a decision about mastectomy. I can make it, she had choice. She had bodily autonomy. But all I had to do was listen to her.
It shouldn't be that hard to be heard.
It should not. It takes just as long to dismiss someone as it does to listen to them. So why are we opting for the dismissal? And this is what I teach providers. If you don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know, but I will get you to someone who does specialize in this. But to tell someone or to make a woman feel like they're crazy, this is why we're killing. We are literally killing women when we do that. And so you got a WTF, or what the fuck, breast cancer number 2.
Can you imagine? Right?
After what you first went through? No.
I'm telling you.
But you let some humor. I think laughter is the best medicine.
Without a doubt.
And my husband, who's a cancer doctor, agrees that people who bring, it's hard to, but humor and levity to the situation, they tend to have better outcomes because that's what we can control.
Yeah.
So what does that let you do that grief wouldn't? What does the humor do that grief doesn't?
What? Okay, so yes, WTF number 2, 2021. And I'm like, well, you look at this. We don't know what the world is doing right now. Is it ending? Like, what is happening to us? And I'm like, well, just to distract from the madness of the world, I go down for my annual, and next morning, got one of those weird calls. My husband's working from home, and I never, probably in all of his years, I am not that wife that's like, oh, I need to check in on this. Nah. He's busy, I'm busy, catch you later. And I'm like, can you come down and listen to this message? Because it's just making me uncomfortable. And we listened to it together, and I'm like, ooh, take a breath. And I knew again. And I'm like, how could this be? A reoccurrence? 35 years later? No. And I knew enough. I'd lived and breathed in that space for so long. And I'm like, can't be a reoccurrence. So, yeah, I birthed 2 more tumors. And it was crazy because one was hiding behind the other. Now the big decision was what doctor do I pick, because I was so lucky to know an abundance of mostly female surgeons now in the space because they had pretty much taken ownership of the space. And I'm like, who do I pick? And my daughter and my husband are like, will you stop it? You have got to focus on you now, and you know the doctor that you should pick. You know the doctor who you've become friends with, like your pals, and you think she's the be-all and the end-all. I'm like, okay, but I don't want to offend anybody. Anyway, made my decision, knew at that point that it was time to get rid of these boobs once and for all. They had let me down once. Now they were letting me down again. And I'm like, okay, toodaloo, tatas. literally got a shirt with a message that said toodaloo.
I love it.
Went to dinner at one of my favorite New York restaurants 2 nights before my surgery was scheduled. And the toast was toodaloo to my tatas.
Love it.
But I was set up for success. Once again, I had the best doctors. Once again, I had a beyond supportive family and friends. Once again, I was living and breathing in this space. Did that increase my chances of getting through this successfully? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely.
Yeah. Support system, having family, having friends, having a positive outlook.
Yeah.
And then obviously having access to really good quality care.
That's it.
Changed everything for you.
So it didn't feel as scary. I mean, and did I really care at that point about losing my boobs? Absolutely not. They were all lopsided anyway because I had a lumpectomy. And I'm like, okay, here's a chance to balance things out, right? And that's essentially what happened.
Did you feel, because I'm sure at 33, being in that room, because that's young to get breast cancer, did you feel less isolated with your second diagnosis when you were in those waiting rooms?
Totally.
And so what do you think that healthcare professionals and the healthcare system needs to learn so that we don't feel isolated in those rooms? How can we make those individuals, those patients, not feel so alone?
I think just being tuned in and mindful and taking that extra moment to say, this is a loss. Mm-hmm. You can grieve if you need to grieve, but take charge, advocate for yourself, demand. If it doesn't feel right, demand that it does. And if that first consult doesn't feel like it's a good fit for you, take your show on the road. There are so many good doctors now, but you want a doctor that understands you and your needs. No one size fits all. And partners is your partner.
I like that line, take your show on the road, because you shouldn't have to negotiate for your own health care. So I love that. And I honestly think it's a very, very good idea when women get a second or even a third opinion, especially when it's something so serious like cancer. Yeah. Because even very good doctors may have very different approaches that are supported by data, but you have to pick what's right for you, because side effects, outcomes, everything can be different. And so, like you said, it is definitely not one size fits all.
No, but in 1988, it kind of was, because they didn't know a whole lot about young women with breast cancer. And sadly, there is just this explosion of younger women being diagnosed with breast cancer these days. And complicated, like advanced, and what the heck is going on? But lucky for me that, I can bring who I consider to be some of the smartest docs into a space that can say to a woman, use your voice, advocate for yourself. In 1988, I was told to walk my fingers up the wall because I had had a nodectomy. Nobody really prepared me in 1988 for the it was post-traumatic, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're in that state. And I'm like, and, I've always been someone that listens hard. And I'm like, okay, I'll do the finger walking. And I'm like, but that just doesn't seem like enough. But now we have the ability to prepare a woman and to help her and to help her avoid such scary moments along the way. Why is my arm blowing up? I'm flying and my arm is blowing up, and it's likely to be lymphedema. And there are so many really good, solid solutions to address all of the aftermath of this very traumatic, not just breast cancer, any traumatic diagnosis.
Yeah, and side effects from whether it's the chemo or the radiation or the surgery.
Right.
Whether it's the menopause or the sexual side, there are so many things. And the thing that I've heard uniformly from women who've gone through this is, number one, they just don't want to survive. They want to thrive. But number two, if they had just known, like if someone had just told them, they wouldn't have felt like they were hit with a Mack truck.
I mean, we want to be large and in charge, don't we?
Yeah.
Don't we?
Especially our own body.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I tell my daughter that all the time. You want to be large and in charge. You want to advocate for yourself. Mm-hmm. And every single woman that shows up at Let's Talk, when they pour through those doors, a lot of them show up with trepidation. What did I get myself into? What am I not doing that I should have been doing? And we want to immediately have them just breathe easier. And I think we do that, right?
We definitely do that. By the end of the day, like a lot of them will have questions ready and they're prepared and they're like, we're going to use our time to our advantage. We showed up,
right,
and we're going to get the information we need to help ourselves. And I love that. But no, I did a sex talk and the room was standing room only. And then you moved me to a bigger room and we had the same thing.
Next year it'll be a bigger room.
It'll be even bigger. I love that.
Right?
Right. Bigger events, more money. So you and I have both raised money. You raised $20 million at Komen.
Oh, please. Yeah. How about it?
16 years of running that organization. What did it teach you about how women choose to give their dollars? So when do they open their wallets, or when do they, I feel like no one writes checks anymore, right? It's digital, but when do they choose to deploy funds? Like what versus they don't?
I think a lot of times when it's personal for them, and, let's face it, breast cancer was really having a moment during that time frame. Yeah. And no matter who I came into contact with, whether, it was senior leadership at one of our sponsors, 9 out of 10 times it would be like, well, my mother died when I was 16. Well, my sister, it was 9 out of 10 times. So people used to say to me, how did you raise that amount of money? And it was hard, but it wasn't that hard because it just was personal over and over and over again. And so when I decided to come back into this space and said to my husband, I want to build a symposium, his finance brain said to me, do you know how much money you're going to have to raise? And I said, take a pause. We're a partnership. Do you know how much money we're going to raise together?
I love the fact that you said that.
A team.
Yes.
We're a team. And we are that, and he is that person. But as we want to get bigger, better, and bolder, we've got to spread a wider net. And we've got big plans for the future of Let's Talk.
I love that. And I say the same thing. Like, as a minority woman who was given less than 0.5% shot, raising $40 million, it was storytelling combined with data. And when you can get them to lock on, because all of them, because most of the investors that I was pitching to were men, had a mother, a sister, a daughter, a friend, someone who had been wronged by our current medical system. So when you combine that with their ROI, right, return on investment, and with the data and all the financial terminology that I had to learn, it was pretty powerful. And that's how I was able to raise. And so going back to the symposium and talking about Let's Talk, you have 5 pillars, correct?
We do.
Human connection, physical, spiritual, financial, and mental. And so, number 1, I want to ask you, why these 5? And then number 2, you have referred to the state of the world. There's a lot of stuff going on. It feels chaotic. It feels unstable. It feels scary. And particularly for women and women's health, it's even scarier. So why those 5? And which one do you think is most important of the 5 now? You have to pick one.
God. I think human connection. I think people need people. Barbra Streisand was right. I mean, people that need people are the luckiest people in the world,
I agree.
right? And we need to realize that being together and trusting each other is everything. It's really everything. And we lived in a world that was like isolating us by no choice of our own. But now it's time to join forces, show up for each other, be in a space that we know there's an opportunity to learn and to love and to just live better lives. So I love the human connection part of this. I love people. I love community. I love meet. And you know what I love so much that has been so much a part of the success of Let's Talk is the merging of the ages. Taking young women that are full of just wonder and knowledge and they're super smart and putting them in a room with women that have great wisdom. I consider myself to have a lot of lived wisdom, and I want to share it. And that exchange of wisdom is everything. That's what drives Let's Talk.
So do you think that that's the magic? That's what makes, because in this day and age of social media and we're all on our phones, which can lead to isolation and Instagram and podcasting, which, I do sometimes in my home by myself. Do you think that that's the magic maker and the differentiator with Let's Talk, that community in person?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, because you're showing up, you're being present, you're showing up for yourself, and you're showing up for a woman that by the end of the day, you may have said to her, let's meet for matcha.
Yeah.
And you didn't even know her when you walked in that morning. So what's better than that? What a takeaway.
It's amazing. That's what that's why I show up to in-person events, because it always leads to something else, a new friendship, a new opportunity, somewhere where I can help someone, and so I love that piece of getting
Dr.
together.
Somi, you make yourself so available. You make yourself so accessible. You're so present. You're not that person that's running out the door. You're there. You're there. And you're fully present. And people know that. People get that about you.
I love teaching. These are things that you realize later in life, like the things that you love to do. And that lights me up when I can give someone a piece. It's like transfer of capital, right? I'm giving you information that has now given you the ability to have autonomy of your own body and the language to talk to your healthcare professional so that you can get what you want. Like, that's my goal when I get on stage. And so what's a favorite moment for you from a past symposium that you were like, yes, this work matters?
Okay. So at this board retreat last night, which was remarkable, it really, I can see the future more clearly for Let's Talk after last evening. And I was asked a similar question. And my answer was the view from the bridge. So anybody that knows the New Jersey Performing Arts Center in Newark, and I have this connection to Newark, knows NJPAC, and it's a beautiful performing arts center.
It's gorgeous.
It's stunning. And it changed the trajectory of Newark in the mid-90s. And that view from the bridge on March 14th was astonishing. Take my breath away. So like more towards the end of the day, we gather on the bridge. And I was surrounded by my family, my two love bugs, those are my grandbabies. And I'm like, does it get better than this? Then I looked out over the lobby and I saw like almost 1,000 women. And
pouring in
like it was crazy. And, sometimes.
Like it was a sample sale in New York City, right? We see people lining up. Nuts.
It was nuts. And there was such energy this year. The energy elevated this year. It elevates every year, but the content was off the charts. We're so good. And that's because you've got a good team. You've got an advisory board that is remarkable, committed, smart, passionate. And now we have a board of trustees because this year we became a 501. And you know what? People have wish lists. And on my wish list was to one day, someday, have a 501 that we could be calling the shots, that we could be autonomous and making what we believed were the best decisions for women and their health and wellness.
I want to give you a big congratulations on that one. Good job. Amazing. Dream bigger. So you're talking about content and you're talking about the event getting bigger and bigger and all these professionals you're bringing in. I know there's still things that we are whispering about that we should not be whispering about, that we should be openly talking about. What do you think we're still whispering about in women's health that we shouldn't be whispering about?
I mean, thanks to you, we're saying sex out loud. And, we're realizing that we shouldn't be and don't have to be uncomfortable, especially with menopause. Just like it's everywhere now, right? But it wasn't, and now it is. So, but there's a lot of misconceptions still. Endometrial symptoms, there's a lot of misconceptions about that. They just announced that PCOS is now becoming PC.
I think
they changed the
acronym.
Yes,
it's PMOS, I think.
I think so.
Yes. But basically what they're describing it is understood now as a cardiometabolic, like head to toe. And it's not just about your menstrual cycle or trying to get pregnant, but it increases your risk of cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes and makes you insulin resistant and also affects your mental health.
Hugely.
Yeah.
Hugely.
Because women struggle. They're like, I'm doing everything right. I can't lose weight, or why can't I get pregnant, or why are my cycles all over the place and the hormonal swings? And so we have finally recognized it as a whole body condition.
Hooray.
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 But how many decades did that take?
Well, that's the thing. So we need to bring these things out into the open, and that's what Let's Talk is doing. I mean, we're already talking about the environmental effects of cancer because I do believe that my early diagnosis in 1988 was likely caused by something in the environment, right? I do believe that. So we're going to push that out next year. I do feel and have concern. GLPs are everybody, anybody. We have to be mindful and thoughtful, and we need to proceed with caution, because I lived with my beautiful daughter, who is beyond healthy now, with an eating disorder that I really thought was going to take her life. I really thought it was. And that's a very misunderstood mental illness. And now I'm like, do GLPs now add to that bag of tricks? Because when somebody is suffering with an eating disorder and they're in that dark zone, they're cleverly coming up with any way to sabotage themselves. They just are.
Oh, and GLP-1s do eradicate that food noise. So I think it depends on what type of eating disorder you have. But there's more and more data coming out because as we're learning about them, right? And their anti-inflammatory capabilities and their abilities to act on cancer cells, and it looks like slow down the growth. I mean, there needs to be so much more data and understanding of this. But
we can't look at it as the magic bullet, right?
No, we can't because it's not, and it's not going to work for everybody.
Right.
And there are people who are actually genetically resistant to them. So it is a whole body, whole life approach when it comes to healthcare. You have to pay attention to your mental health. You have to pay attention to what you're eating. You have to move. You have to have community. If you look at what the blue zones all have in common, there are so many factors other than, you know, a singular medication. So you're right. There's no magic bullet. So to a woman listening right now at home who is still putting herself on the back burner, give her one sentence, give her one action item that she needs to do.
Well, first of all, can we make a blue zone together?
You can make them.
I know.
They did an experiment.
Can we do that?
I'm obsessed. Let's do it. Okay.
So one thing that she needs to do for herself is be true to herself. Be true. Don't think you have to just do it because you're pleasing someone. Mm-hmm. Please yourself because you matter so much. So realize how much you matter.
I love that. Do it for yourself. So 2 more questions. It's 2036. Let's talk now. It's 10 years from now. What does it look like? What's new? How has it evolved?
Oh my God. And I'm in a whole new decade and I just want to have the same level of energy. How has it evolved? We're just going to keep reaching women that are harder to reach to because that's part of my heart and soul. The sister program at Let's Talk gets bigger, better and bolder and richer every year. And that means when you purchase a ticket, you give a ticket and you get a ticket. So we're just going to blow that out of the water. And in that next period in time, we're not going to have to say that so many women can't be reached, that they're underinsured, that they're like just not looked upon as the amazing, full-bodied individual that they deserve to be respected as.
So who's your dream speaker to eventually get?
Okay, there's a few, but do I have to say one?
Yes, I'm going to make you pick one.
Okay, can we extend this invitation to Oprah right now?
Oh, yes. Oprah, are you listening? Because
hello?
I want to be at, Oprah Winfrey. Hello.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to be there? Oh. I know you were in Newark a few years ago because I saw you there.
Yes.
So please come.
Yes. Hi, Oprah. If you're listening, we would love for you to come. It would be amazing. And you would help so many women, right? And you're already doing that. So where can listeners find you, get a ticket, and support you?
So we have a beautiful website, Let's Talk Well Women. We're all over social. We manage our social. Our team is so good at it. They're so good at so many things. We're all over social, and you can just call me.
Okay.
Call me, and I'll tell you because I love to share.
Thank you so much for being here with me today. This was amazing, and you are just doing incredible work. So thank you.
And we can cry together now?
We can cry together now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.